What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of the Wing and Tail Boys. On today's episode, we're going to be talking all things fall food plots. We're going to be talking to you about what we're planting, how we're planting it, what we did to prep for this, as well as how the spring and summer food plots went and how they either helped or hurt us moving into our fall food plots. Let's go. Now, as you can probably see all around me and behind me, these food plots grew relatively well this year. At least what we wanted to grow grew well. Our triticale came to a head and has since died off, giving our soil a nice shade covering. It's giving our soil phenomenal protection, which is one of the main reasons that we've gone to the no-till system. However, our biggest problem was we frost seeded and then planted again a little bit later into the spring, but this year we just didn't have the time to get around to a full summer food plot. What that's done for us is it allowed the triticale to grow and remain standing tall, so we have really great soil coverage overall throughout all our food plots. In addition, we planted a lot of chicory and clover. Actually, as a matter of fact, it's pretty much all we planted for the spring and the summer. And that triticale kind of popped back up and the rye kind of popped back up from the fall. So with this clover coming in, we've had a lot of activity of deer. As of late, I would say over the last month or so, our deer activity has really picked up. And I think that's because the clover is really popping. Now, the problem we have is because we didn't get in here for a summer food plot, we actually allowed a good amount of weeds to come in, unfortunately, which obviously is not what we wanted. But unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast this year. We also want to reduce our inputs, so that really limits what we're able to do to control the weeds. Unfortunately, I don't want to spray, and we kind of got started on our crimper build a little later than we really wanted to, so that's probably not going to be ready to go until our next planting, which obviously would be in the spring or early summer. With that said, I think what I'm going to do to give our fields the best chance of success is today I'm going to go through and I'm going to spread some seed. And depending on what time I get done, either today or tomorrow, I'm going to come back and mow all of this down to maybe about 7 or 8 inches. I don't want to cut it down completely. I still want to have some stuff growing. The nice thing is our clover isn't growing all that tall. So to put things in order, what I would like to do is spread the seed, come back and cut whatever's standing. Now what that's going to do is it's still going to protect the soil. The downside is that it's not going to be standing and it's not going to be full size laid over. So as that stuff dries, it's going to protect the soil for less time. So what we're going to be planting in all of our food plots this season is a complete blend of Destination, Beets and Greens, and Winter Peas Plus, all from Whitetail Institute. We've really come to love Whitetail Institute seed. It grows well for us. It does its job. The seed seems to stay viable for longer if there's no rain due to the rain bond cover. The only downside is they don't really have a blend that we feel serves to the full no-till system or the regenerative food plots. So what I've done is I've gone through all of their seed blends and I've taken the 3 different seed blends and put them together that I think create the perfect blend for that regenerative food plotting. So with that being said, I'm now going to go get my bag ready and get to spreading. Luckily, we have some rain coming today and every day for the next 4 days here. So I'm really hopeful to get the seed in the ground today and mow either today or tomorrow. And if I can get those 2 things done, we are going to be golden moving forward into the fall season. Guys, so I'm back, this time with a guest. That is Hunter back there. I went back to the cabin after I was done seeding, and I tried to get the DR mower that we have. When I got there, I couldn't find the hitch piece that I need to attach the mower to the Kubota. So instead of doing it with the mower, I'm going to go ahead and just weed whack the 3 biggest fields. The barbershop all the way in the back of the property didn't grow thick enough for it to really need to be cut. I want to leave that up so that way it can shade out the ground throughout the rest of the summer. The nice thing is, if I cut this down and let's say nothing that I planted today decides to take and grow, the clover and the chicory is going to fill in really nicely because we're going to release that from all of this tall stuff and expose it to sunlight. Best case scenario, the clover and the chicory grow a little bit more and the deer eat that while all of the other stuff that we have planted for the fall start to grow in. So like I said earlier, I think we might quite literally be in a win-win situation. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and grab the weed whacker. I'm going to weed whack down this field and all the other fields, and I'll get back with you when I'm done to close this up and talk to you about the pros and cons of the day. Okay, so I got this whole field weed whacked. To be honest, it took a little longer than I expected it would, which means the entire acre plus is going to take a heck of a long time, but that's all right. Now, I'm going to walk you into here with me in just a second, but as I'm clearing away all this grass and all this tall stuff, I'm really even more impressed with the way the clover grew in this year. As I'm clearing away the grass, I'm exposing a lot of clover that must have been choked out up until this point. I mean, in some areas it's thin, and in other areas it's like a carpet of green. And in the places where it got enough sunlight, I mean, it grew a good foot, maybe more. And in the places where it was kind of suppressed, it stayed about 3 inches or so and didn't flower. So what I did was I made sure I went in and exposed the clover that was growing low, and I made sure to cut any of the clover that grew tall so that way it could re-sprout and continue to regenerate throughout the rest of the summer. Okay, here we are on to day 2 of the fall planting process. I wasn't able to get everything done yesterday. The rains came in a little sooner than I expected. So we're back at it today. I have the power line here to finish up and the old cabin to finish. You may notice that yesterday I was using the weed whacker. I have the combi system here, so I'm able to swap this head out. I put my hedge trimmer attachment on to start today. I'm thinking that it's going to help me cover a little bit more area with each pass and hopefully make the job go a little bit quicker. The nice thing is we got some rain last night, so I'm going to be able to go back, once I'm done with all this, I'm going to go back to the fields I did yesterday and kind of see what happened to the grasses and the dead stuff that I cut down. What happened to that after it rained? My expectation, and I haven't seen it yet, but what I'm expecting to have happened is the rain to kind of dampen down or tamp down all that stuff I cut and make a nice compacted, not compacted, but make a nice pressed down layer on top of the seed that we spread yesterday. This is really the first time in all 4 years that everything is lined up for us as far as getting the seed down properly, getting rain right away. And now that water is on those seeds, they are no longer going to be eaten by the birds or animals or whatever. So we really had the best luck with the timing of the seed and the rain. So I don't want to talk anymore. I'm going to get to work, and then I'll get back with you guys at the end here, and we'll finish everything up. I don't know, about 15 minutes in, give or take, and I did one run down the side here. I think the way that the camera is angled, it might be hard for you to see where I had gone. What I noticed is this is doing an incredible job of cutting the grass and having it lay down. The big problem is that the grass grew in so thick that it's actually too much for the motor and this attachment. So unfortunately I'm going to have to go back to the the regular old weed whacker attachment, but that's okay. It did a decent job on the other fields. We'll just have to take it slow today, and we're just gonna keep rolling. Now, before we get to our final field, I just want to walk through this field that I cut yesterday before it rained. Being that we weren't able to get the crimper going, I'm really hoping that the rain kind of helped to push that duff down, the stuff that I cut. I'm really hoping that it was able to pack it down on top of the seed. Now, we didn't get like a torrential downpour or anything. That's coming on Thursday. Today's Tuesday, so in 2 days, we're gonna get a really, really hard rain like that. But as you come with me into these fields here, or into this specific field here, first off, you can see again, just a carpet of clover. It's not everywhere, but the clover, again, as I've mentioned 100 times already today, the clover really was choked out by those taller growing grasses. Now in some places, okay, in some places, it does look like this dead duff and these grasses that I cut yesterday, it does look like they got packed down. In other places, not so much. I think it really needs a harder rain and a few more days for the stuff to really die off, to really see how this is going to work out. Ideally, I would have loved to have had a crimper, which unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't get the crimper done in time, which really would have been ideal, but that's okay. It's in the works now, and by the time we're ready to plant again next year, the crimper should be ready, and hopefully we have that for all of the planting seasons to come after that. Last year, what we used was Destination and no plow. I believe what we did was 3/4 of an acre of no plow and 1/2 an acre of Destination. What we've done this year is we've changed that to half an acre of Destination, 1/2 an acre of Winter P Plus, and 1/4 acre of beets and greens. I just liked that combination better. Between the Destination and the no plow, there were just a little too much grasses in there for my liking. So I decided to change that up a little bit this year, and we'll see how that grows. But other than that, if we would have simply had the time to get out here this year to plant a summer plot, I think we would have been close to having a solid weed control down. And I think we really would have had a phenomenal full circle planting season. Now we still have to wait and see how the fall food plot is going to go. For all I know, it could just go to crap, for lack of a better way to put it. But I'm not expecting it to. I think every year and every planting we've done, we've changed a little something for the better. And every single planting season, we've had a little bit more success than the last. And I think with all of that taken into consideration, and the fact that we have really great soil protection and the rains coming down that we need, I think that we have the ability, or we're going to have the ability, to have a phenomenal fall planting season. So this year we had an awesome spring planting. Last year and the year before, we actually had a pretty good summer planting. This year, I'm expecting to have a great fall planting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, I'm going to take a look at my notes and see what we did in those years where the spring worked out well, what we did in those years where the summer worked out well, and the fall, prospectively, or respectively, and put that all together next year to come up with a plan to have a fully functioning food plot system from January to December for the entire year, and hopefully find a way to have food for the deer 365 days a year. I'm not going to bore you and show you another video of me cutting all these fields down because there's really no point. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap the video up here now. And just to kind of touch on some of the things that we've talked about here. We've talked about the pros and cons of what we did in the spring. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of grasses grew in and it choked out a lot of the stuff that we wanted to grow. However, it really did protect our soil, and it's given us a perfect opportunity to continue to protect the soil into the fall. The fact that we planted chicory and clover, and the fact that it is so resistant, and its ability to live in a lot of different adverse conditions really makes it a phenomenal plant to put down, and it really held its own. And I'm hoping that even if nothing else takes, as we talked about earlier, that clover and the chicory will suffice and continue to grow stronger as the year goes on. Looking forward, I need to do a better job of planning ahead and making sure all the tools that I need to use are available when I need them. Unfortunately, the mower battery was dead, and the piece to attach it to the Kubota has gone missing. I should have checked on that in these last few weeks, and I didn't, and that's on me. In addition, we've been talking about building this crimper for about a year now, and granted, I've had a lot of stuff going on this year. My brothers have had a lot of stuff going on this year, but even so, I have to do a better job of planning things ahead and scheduling things in a way that's going to allow them to be ready for me when I need them. Again, I like to do things by hand. I'm really a DIY kind of guy. I also don't really like using the spreaders on the back of the Kubota because they tend to tip over fairly often. A lot of the places that we're planting food plots are not level, and that has caused the feeders to spill multiple times, and that's just not something that I really want to deal with. So I do like the hand spreader. Now, the best thing I did this time around, if you remember from my last videos, I had a red bag spreader that I just didn't really enjoy using. The gate never really closed completely. I was wasting seed when I thought I had the gate closed. So on my way up here this time around, I stopped off at Walmart and bought literally a $10 hand spreader for grass seed, and it worked phenomenally. Obviously, I could probably spend a little bit more money and get something that works just a little bit smoother, but for what I needed here, it worked out great. And last but not least, when everything kind of went to crap and I didn't have all the tools I needed, I found a way to make it work. Because remember, commitment breeds success. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us on another episode of the Wing and Tail Boys. If you have a moment, please click on our icon down in the bottom right hand corner and take a second to subscribe to our channel and like the video if you like what you saw today. And until next time, have a great day.